You know that moment when your dog does something that feels bad, and your whole body goes, absolutely not. Maybe it's growling. Maybe it's barking like they're possessed. Maybe it's snapping at a hand that got too close. And your first instinct is to correct it fast, because you're thinking, I can't allow that. But here's the twist most people never get told clearly enough. A huge chunk of what we label as bad behavior is actually fear. Not stubbornness, not dominance, not your dog being a jerk, fear. And if you punish fear, you don't fix the problem. You just teach your dog to hide the warning signs right before things get worse. So today, we're talking about the behavior you should almost never punish and what to do instead in a way that actually changes your dog's emotional response, not just their outward reaction. Number 1, the bad behavior is usually a safety request. Let's name the behavior I'm talking about. Growling, snapping, lunging, barking in a way that feels intense, especially when someone approaches, reaches, looms, hugs, or gets in their space. Most humans hear a growl and interpret it as disrespect. Dogs use a growl like a sentence. It can mean, that's too close. It can mean, I'm uncomfortable. It can mean, please stop. It can mean, I'm trying really hard not to escalate. And here's what's wild. Growling is often restraint, not aggression. It's your dog using communication instead of teeth. If you punish the growl, you don't remove the discomfort. You remove the warning label. It's a bit like ripping the smoke alarm out of the ceiling because it's loud, while the kitchen is still on fire. Number 2, fear doesn't look like fear the way we think it should. When most people picture a fearful dog, they imagine a trembling dog hiding behind a couch. But fear can look like stiffness. It can look like hard staring. It can look like barking. It can look like overreacting. It can look like sudden chaos. And dogs, like humans, have a stress response system that tends to go down a few familiar roads. Freeze, flee, fight, and sometimes fawn, which in dog terms can look like frantic appeasement. This is where you get the confusing stuff. Tail wagging while growling, or approaching while barking. People think wagging means happy. Often it just means arousal. A tail can wag because a dog is excited, or because they're tense and conflicted. And if you've ever owned a cat, you've seen this too. A cat can purr and still be stressed. A cat can flick their tail, then swat, then sprint away. Animals don't always do one clean emotion at a time. They stack feelings. Dogs do it constantly. So the bad behavior might be your dog saying, I'm scared, in the only language they have. Number 3, there's almost always a warning. It's just quiet. Before a dog growls or snaps, there's usually a whole series of tiny signals that are easy to miss. A blink that's slower than normal. A head turn away. Lip licking when there's no food. Yawning at weird times. A closed mouth that used to be relaxed. Whale eye, where you see the white of the eye. Ears pinned back. A sudden stillness. Researchers and behavior professionals often describe this as a ladder. The dog climbs it as the situation gets more intense for them. The problem is, humans don't notice the first few rungs. And then we act shocked when the dog is suddenly on rung 8. Here's a simple real-life example. A toddler runs up and hugs the dog. The dog freezes for half a second. The adults say, "Ah, look how patient he is." The dog licks his lips and looks away. The adults take a photo. The dog stiffens. The adults lean closer. The dog growls. The adults scold the dog. From the dog's perspective, the growl was the first time anyone listened. That's why punishing it is so risky. You're punishing the clearest communication they have left. Number 4, punishment can suppress behavior while increasing fear underneath. This is the part that makes people uncomfortable because punishment can look like it works. You yell, the dog stops. You jerk the leash, the dog freezes. You do a harsh correction, the dog goes quiet. But quiet doesn't always mean calm. Sometimes it means shut down. Research on training methods has repeatedly found that aversive or punishment-based techniques are linked with increased fear, anxiety, and in some cases, more aggressive responses over time. Even when the outward behavior looks improved in the moment, the emotional state can worsen. And when fear worsens, the dog becomes more reactive, not less. Because the dog isn't learning mailman is safe. They're learning mailman appears and I get hurt or threatened. Now you've got two scary things layered together. Trigger plus punishment equals bigger feelings. And when those feelings finally overflow, the response can be sudden. That's where you hear people say, "He bit out of nowhere." It wasn't out of nowhere. It was out of fear, and the early warnings got punished into silence. Number 5, the behavior you should never punish is the warning itself. So if we had to pick one bad behavior to put in a protective bubble, it's this. Don't punish the growl. Don't punish the bark that says, "back up." Don't punish the snap that didn't connect. Because those are messages. They are information. They are your dog trying to solve the problem without injury. Your goal isn't to teach your dog never growl. Your goal is to teach your dog you don't need to growl because you're safe, and I will listen. That difference is everything. Number 6, step 1 is management, not training. This is where people skip ahead. They want the magic technique, the perfect command, the fix. But the first step is not training. It's management. Management means you stop rehearsing the scary situation. Because every time your dog goes over threshold, every time they explode, the brain gets a rehearsal. The pattern gets stronger. So management looks like creating distance from triggers, using baby gates or crates to give your dog a safe zone, avoiding forced greetings, not letting strangers reach over your dog's head, not cornering your dog, not making them tolerate hugs or handling when they're stressed. And yes, this can feel like you're giving in. You're not giving in. You're building safety, so learning can happen. Number 7, the real fix is changing the emotion, not just the behavior. Here's the research-backed heart of modern behavior change. When you change how the dog feels, the behavior changes with it. If your dog is fearful of strangers, you don't just teach sit. You help your dog feel safer around strangers. That's where desensitization and counterconditioning come in. Desensitization means you expose the dog to the trigger at a level they can handle. Not at full intensity, not close up, not forced, just enough that they notice, but they're still able to think. Counterconditioning means you pair the trigger with something good so the emotional meaning changes. Stranger appears at a distance. Treat rains from the sky. Dog sees the mailman. Treat party. Dog notices the other dog across the street. Find it. Treats on the ground. Over time, you're basically rewriting the dog's prediction. Instead of trigger equals danger, it becomes trigger equals good stuff and space. And that last part matters, space. Because many fearful dogs aren't asking for treats first. They're asking for distance first. Treats help, but only if the dog feels they're allowed to be safed. Number 8, teach a replacement behavior that fits the emotion. A fearful dog doesn't need a power move. They need an exit strategy. So instead of correcting the growl, teach the dog what to do when uncomfortable. A few great options: touch or hand target, so they can move toward you. Find it, so they drop their head and sniff, which lowers arousal. Let's go, as a cheerful U-turn cue. Go to mat, so they have a safe station. Look, so they can check in with you instead of scanning for threats. And the key is you practice these when your dog is calm, so they're automatic when stress hits. It's like a fire drill. You don't invent the plan during the fire. Number 9, your relationship is the safety signal. This is the part nobody can shortcut. Dogs don't just learn from treats. They learn from what you consistently do in hard moments. If your dog growls and you punish them, your dog learns. When I'm scared, you're dangerous too. If your dog growls and you calmly create space, your dog learns. When I'm scared, you help. That's bonding. That's attachment. That's trust. And it changes how your dog moves through the world. This is also why your tone matters so much. Not because dogs understand English like we do, but because dogs read nervous systems. They read breathing. They read posture. They read tension in your hands. If you've ever watched a dog become more panicked because the human is panicked, you've seen emotional contagion in action. So part of training a fearful dog is training yourself to become predictable, calm, and safe. Not perfect, just safe. Number 10, sometimes fear is fueled by pain, hormones, or genetics. Here's a surprise people don't like, but it's important. Not all fear is just training. A dog that suddenly becomes reactive might be in pain. A dog that guards more intensely might have arthritis or dental issues. A dog that startles easily might be chronically stressed or underslept. Some dogs are simply more sensitive by temperament. So if the behavior is new, escalating, or scary, a vet check is a smart move. And if there's a bite risk, working with a qualified force-free trainer or veterinary behaviorist can be a game changer. Getting help isn't failure. It's what good guardians do when the stakes are real. Number 11, what to do in the moment when the bad behavior happens. Okay, practical moment. Your dog growls right now. What do? First, stop. Don't lean in. Don't reach. Don't argue. Don't punish. Second, create space. Calmly move away or guide your dog away. Third, breathe. Make your movements smaller and slower. Fourth, once everyone is safe, think. What was the trigger? What did my dog try to communicate? What early signs did I miss? And then later, you build a plan. Management plus training plus trust. Because the goal is not to win the moment. The goal is to reduce the number of moments like that forever. Number 12, the meaning of the behavior changes how you respond. Here's the emotional core of this whole topic. If you believe your dog is being bad, you respond with punishment. If you realize your dog is scared, you respond with protection. And protection doesn't spoil a dog. It stabilizes them. It tells them, you don't have to handle this alone. And when dogs feel supported, they get braver. Not because you force them, but because you made the world less threatening. So yes, the title says, never punish this bad behavior. But what it really means is this: don't punish communication. Don't punish fear. Because fear doesn't need discipline. Fear needs safety, time, and a guide. And if you get this right, you don't just end up with a quieter dog. You end up with a dog who trusts you enough to be honest and calm enough to not need to shout in the first place.